This is probably going to be my all-time favorite pageant recap. All-time. Because I got the crown. Guys, I got it. I brought you a crown. Oh my goodness. Wow. This is the best. This is the best. I feel so exhausted. Hi everyone, I'm Dani, Miss Montana USA 2018. That is the first time I have said that on camera. That is so wonderful. My face is already starting to hurt from smiling. Welcome to my channel. If you are new, please subscribe, and if you are returning, thank you for coming back. Today's episode is the Miss Montana 2018 recap. I couldn't be more excited to share this journey with you guys. This is remarkable. It's been about a week since I won. After the pageant, I got extremely sick. After the pageant, I became very sick. I think that my body was just really stressed out and it finally got to rest. So I came down with a really bad cold or flu or something, and I'm still recovering from that. So I actually spent most of the first week of my reign in bed trying to rest, which was very difficult to do because there's so much to do. Let's start at the beginning. I arrived at the pageant on Thursday, very late Thursday night, just so I can get a good night's rest and so I could relax all day Friday before checking in on Saturday morning. Checked in on Saturday morning. If you guys saw that on the vlog that I posted, there's some behind the scenes things from rehearsals. Had a great time at rehearsal. It was really easy going. I was relaxed the entire time this year. Because I was comfortable and calm, and I had really practiced my mental preparation for the entire weekend, so I focused on myself and not other contestants, and that took months of practice to be just focused on me. In rehearsals, I didn't do anything crazy or over the top or try to show off or anything like that. I was just really relaxed the whole time so that I would be relaxed for the interview competition. Interview obviously went great. It was funny. It felt like another pageant interview I had had at a different pageant that I had won. And I remember walking out of that interview and this interview just thinking, oh, maybe it could have gone better. And then I went back to my room and I wrote down all the questions and I wrote down all my responses to sort of recap for myself. And I thought, oh, well, my responses actually were pretty good. So that wasn't too bad. I sort of made a mistake in interview and it turned out in my favor. They were asking me questions about social media, and I had mentioned how I had a Road to Miss Montana USA YouTube series, but instead of saying Road to Miss Montana USA, I was like, oh yeah, and I have this whole Road to Miss USA, Road to Miss Montana USA YouTube series. And then they all laughed, and the judges were like, oh, well, think positively and, have goals and all that stuff. And I was like, yes, exactly. But I was a little embarrassed, but I think that moment was really great in my interview because it was fun and it was just lighthearted, so that was really great. And then they focused on things that were on my resume, which I was ready for. So we talked about the organizations that are important to me, a lot about my community service, talked about my life and my education, and it was a really well-rounded interview this year, which is what my goal was. And then after interview was done, got some rest, and then the next day was just rehearsals, and rehearsals were really close to the time that we had to be ready this year. We were running really short on time, so I was getting worried backstage and just thinking, okay, I've only done some of my makeup, I don't have any lips on, I haven't put my extensions in, and I started getting nervous. So towards the end of rehearsal, I ran to the dressing room and I got my extensions and I started putting them in backstage right before we walked on to practice for the opening number. So glad that I did, because by the time that they released us after the rehearsal of the prelims and the finale, by the time that happened, there was really no time. So I went, I sat down, I teased my hair as fast as possible. I thought that my hair during interview looked better than during the finale, but that was because I didn't have any time during the finale. I did my best. It was okay. And plus it's on stage, so I feel like when you're not as close to a judge, it's not that bad if your hair isn't perfect. Did prelims, didn't feel super confident in prelims. I knew that I didn't do my personal best, but I felt like it was still good enough to get into the top 10. And that's really what mattered, is just advancing. I did that, finale started, got into the top 10, really excited. And the thing that I just kept telling myself, because I was first runner-up last year, and I feel like there's these expectations of being a first runner-up and either placing first runner-up again, which would have not been fun, or placing lower, which is almost embarrassing, or winning. There's, different options. I kept reminding myself that this is a new year, that those judges have not seen me compete last year, and that I am not going to be defined by my performance last year, that this year's performance was in my control, and that I would make the changes that I needed in order to capture the title. Yeah. My interview was different. I smiled more in it. My body language was better. And the thing I wanted to work on a lot was my onstage question. I wanted to feel more comfortable and more in control, because last year I had never even been called into semifinals for USA state pageants. I was overwhelmed with emotion, and I didn't know what to do with those emotions, and it got me really excited on stage when I should have just been a little more relaxed. And I feel like that could have determined some of the outcome of the pageant last year, was how excited I was on stage. I just needed to calm down a little bit. This year I planned that if I were to get into the top 10 and if I were to get into the top 5, that I would have more composure on stage. And I made sure that that was happening, that I was always thinking about that, and also not focusing on impressing anybody. That's something that I took away from the Beauty Brand Believe Expo this past year. Jorge Esteban talked about that. He said, you don't have to impress anybody in your interview. You're more than enough. And that was some of the advice that my directors gave me as well. They were like, you have so many different gifts and talents, and you don't need to try too hard to showcase those, because who you are is enough. So that's what my mindset was going into the pageant, and just thinking and visualizing all of you who have supported me, who have sent me messages, who have cheered me on. And before I was walking on stage, I would just visualize all of you out in the audience, and I was thinking, how exciting would it be if everybody was here and they were cheering for me. So I was just focused on that before swimsuit and gown, and like I said, not impressing anybody, making sure that I took my time on stage but not going too slow. That was another thing. So anyways, got called for top 10, and I did not expect to get called for top 5, and I kept telling myself that, because like I said, there's that expectation of being first runner-up and you're gonna be top 5, and it's pretty much guaranteed. And I don't think that it is, because every year at USA pageants, or at any pageant, the top 5 is different. It's different judges, different girls, different performances. There's so many factors that go into that. So I was happy to be called for top 10, and really grateful to be called for top 5. And I was like, yes, I can do this. Like, when I got called for top 5, all I was thinking was, I'm gonna change my performance from last year, and it's gonna be even stronger and better. I was the 4th one to go for the onstage question, and I remember just crossing my fingers, praying I didn't get this one judge, because I had listened to him ask the teens a question, and I thought that his question of the teens was a little difficult. He had the most interesting one, and I was just praying, God, please don't let me pick his question from the jar. It's like, put my hand in, I took it out, and it was him. I got that judge. I was like, how in the world did I manage to pull his name? I was waiting, just breathing, and he asks, how am I doing? And I was like, I'm doing really great. This is wonderful. I'm excited, all that. And then he is like, oh boy, do I have one for you. And the audience just gasped. And I thought, oh no, something controversial. Brace yourself. And I even responded to that. He goes, do I have one for you? And I said something like, oh no, into the mic. And then he said, are you ready for this one? And I said, oh, let me take a breath. I took a breath and I said, okay, I'm ready. Let's do it. And that was nice to have that couple extra seconds to calm myself down. And then my question was something about artificial intelligence. I can't even repeat the question back to you because I'm not sure what it was, and I'll post it. But it was something about 40%. It started with a statistic, I think, and it was like 40% of Americans believe this or whatever. And all I could think about was telling myself, listen to the question. Just listen to it. Do not assume that he's saying anything else. Just listen to what he's saying and answer the question. So I was just standing up there and hearing like, okay, 40% of Americans something. And basically the question was, do I believe artificial intelligence in the future, or now in the near future, is a good thing, a bad thing, neither, and why? I really wasn't stressed about that question because it was almost like a hypothetical question that we would get in NAM, like, if you were a pair of shoes, which shoes would you be? And I felt like it was something like that. I could take the question anywhere because there was no right or wrong answer as long as I supported what I thought. I basically said, I think that some people believe that artificial intelligence would be our saving grace, just the best thing ever. But that is going to come down to their own perception. I, however, happen to believe in people and that there's goodness out there. I have faith in humanity as long as we continue to have great role models like Miss Montana USA. Done. I don't think I stumbled across any of my words, and I supported my opinions, and I answered the yes or the no and the neither and the why. I felt confident about that answer. I wasn't sure about what the judges would think. I am not the tallest contestant, and there were some girls on stage that were 5'11 and 5'10 and tall and beautiful, so I don't know if they were just gonna pick the tall and pretty girl. That happens in a pageant. So I felt confident about my answer, and I knew that no matter what, I could go home and be proud of that and just be like, hey guys, I did a good job. And I know you guys are the best and will still love and support me, which is just everything. So I felt really great about it. And then I always wondered what happens after you win. So we took lots of photos, took pictures with the contestants, with the judges, with the staff, and then they invited me out to sushi, which was great. I was thinking I was gonna eat some really bad food after the pageant. Not really, I just ate some sushi, which isn't too bad. It's like fish and vegetables and rice. Afterwards, went back to my room. My room was a mess, and I started going through my phone, my social media, my text messages, my calls, and I still have not returned all of the phone calls because there were so many, and it was overwhelming. And then the next morning, I wanted to get some sleep because the next day I had a meeting with my directors, and they went over all of our paperwork and the plan for the year. After that, went back to my room. I was repacking all of my things and getting ready to head back home, and home is about a 5-hour drive back, and I'm driving myself, so I had to pack all of my things up. I went and took some photos outside too, just for social media and to thank all of our sponsors, which takes time. I have to have hair, makeup, wardrobe, all those things. And then I started filling out my paperwork. There's so much paperwork that they give you that they don't have time for us to fill it all out there with them because they want us to have a copy for ourselves. So there was a stack like this big of paperwork that I had to fill out and turn in that I mailed in a couple days later after I got home. So I filled out all of that stuff. I started thanking all of the sponsors online, and then as a title holder, they ask that we either email the sponsors thank yous or write them a card, depending on whichever option that the sponsors prefer. So I started doing that. And then, of course, the next day, I slept in a little bit, had to get home, and just sort of settle back into life. That's when I started getting really sick. The next day, I was sleeping, and I remember because I looked at my phone, and it was 2:35, and they ask us to always respond to calls, texts, and emails. And I looked, and there's emails and missed calls from my director, and I was like, oh no, what happened? What did I do? So I was looking at them, and I called her right up, and she's like, the news station, they want to do an interview with you. Can you be ready by 3? I was like, it's 2:35, and I've been in bed sick all day, and I haven't even showered. It was so bad. I don't know how I did it. I actually showered, washed my hair, did my makeup, curled my hair, and got to the news station a little bit. I don't know what time I got there. I don't remember what time I got there, but I got there, and I've never been ready that fast in my life. And it was my first news interview ever, which I actually vlogged, and that'll be in another episode. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys all of the different appearances and events that we're doing and going to this year. So that was really exciting. Then the rest of the week, I was just trying to catch up with more sponsors again. That's what my weekend was. I was so happy. I'm so excited to share this here with you guys. I wanted to give you guys a quick update about everything and let you know what's happening. And please follow me now on my new social media accounts at Miss MT USA. That's amazing. On Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook is Miss Montana USA. Please follow those. I am learning how to Snapchat, haven't figured it out yet. I clicked something, and then it highlighted all of these names with a check mark, and I didn't know what that meant. I was worried, am I going to delete everybody? Are these people I'm following, or do they follow me? What are these things?